Hello and welcome back. I'm Jackie Morrissey with the Office of Curriculum and Instruction, and I'm super excited to continue this discussion with you on Right Connections, an integrated approach to teaching 3-8 writing with the EL education curriculum. For this particular writing series, we have 3 goals. The first goal was to discuss the key components of skilled writing. Last time we named those components based upon what Joan Sedita released in the writing rope. Those key components, again, were critical thinking, syntax, text structure, writer's craft, and also transcription. Our second goal is to identify writing structures across the EL education curriculum, and we will be discussing that goal today. And then in our last section, we will be preparing to deliver high quality, effective writing instruction to our students here in the School District of Philadelphia. Part 2, writing structures across the EL education curriculum. There's a quote on the screen in front of you. Before I actually give voice to that quote, I'd ask that you look over the quote yourself and think about the words or phrases that resonate most to you whenever we think about the relationship or the connectedness that needs to happen with reading and writing instruction. The quote says, ultimately, our goal for students as they learn about the world through the compelling topics in the curriculum is first that they deeply understand and then that they effectively communicate what they know. Well, if you're like me, the words that resonated most are deeply understand and effectively communicate. We want our students to understand the content material that we are teaching them in our classes, but in addition for them to comprehend, in addition to them comprehending what we're teaching, we also want them to be able to effectively communicate their learning, both in oral format and written format as well. In addition to the integrated approach to teaching writing that shows up in the curriculum, there is the writing for understanding component as well. Let's take a look at how that shows up in the curriculum. So if we're looking at a couple of grade level examples, we'll start with grade 1, module 1, tools and work. In this particular module, students are reading the anchor text, The Most Magnificent Thing, written by Ashley Spires. And throughout their work in this module, they're reading other associated texts as well. Their task for this module is to create a most magnificent thing. So they're working in small groups with other students. They're creating something that would be useful for them in their class. And in addition to creating that item, they're also creating an informative writing piece that explains their creation as well as its usefulness and functionality within the class. In grade 4, module 2, students are engaging in a discussion on animal defense mechanisms. So these 4th grade students are reading this associated anchor text that you see on the screen in front of you about those animal behaviors. They are also completing a performance task in which they are showcasing their mastery or their learning on the research that they have engaged in, where they have studied 1 or 2 different animals and the specific mechanisms that they have in which they can defend themselves. The writing for this particular module is both an informative piece and also a narrative piece. Finally, for grade 7, the students are they're studying the Harlem Renaissance in module 3. And this study, they are using the anchor text by Nikki Grimes, One Last Word. They are looking at select poems and songs and literary works for the Harlem Renaissance period. The performance task that these students are creating is twofold. So they are collecting a series of curated items, poems, songs, text, and they're explaining why those items were associated or why those items were included in their museum exhibit. The writing that they are doing for this is literary argument essay. And if you look at the correlation between all of these different grade levels and all of these performance tasks and all of these pieces of writing, our students are having to develop high quality pieces of writing in which they're going to have to showcase mastery on at the end of grade assessments, and those high stakes tests that they're going to have to engage in at the end of the year, such as the PSSA. So as you can see, they're preparing all along the way. If we want to look at some more specific examples that show up in the text for writing for understanding, here are a couple of ways that students do this on a daily basis. They engage in independent writing activities in which they do things like entrance tickets, exit tickets. They're showcasing their learning or their level of understanding, that deep understanding based upon the matter in which they have read. They are engaging in writing assessments. So remember, at least 1 out of 6 of those formal on-demand assessments, the end of unit or the mid-unit assessments, is going to be a writing task. So students are going to have to complete an opinion piece, an informative piece, a narrative piece, something very similar to what they have been working on throughout their study in the unit. They're giving a writing prompt, and they're also usually given graphic organizers to go along with that as well. And then last but certainly not least, there are scaffolded high quality writing tasks. Here is where we come into play because the teachers are guiding the students throughout that writing process that we talked about the last time. We are working with our students on things like creating focus statements and openings and closing conclusions. They're really helping them, supporting them with character development and other techniques as they're working their way throughout the writing process. Every single day, our students engage in the read, think, talk, write cycle. They begin by reading a compelling piece of text or a worthy text. After they have read it, then they have targeted time in which they can think about it and process complex vocabulary or ideas or grapple with just things that decisions that the characters are making. Then they have targeted time in which they can engage in protocols with other students where they can talk and they can really hash out ideas and build upon the ideas of their peers. Because our students have these 3 scaffolds in place, they have scaffolded support in reading the complex text, they have targeted time to think and reflect on the decisions and grapple with the challenging decisions and vocabulary that show up in the reading. They have targeted time to talk to other students and really refine their level of understanding about what they are reading. Then students are better prepared and better equipped to produce high quality, beautiful writing. Another thing that shows up throughout the curriculum is the painted essay. This is a structure that was created by Diana Leddy from the Vermont Writing Collaborative, which just shows students how to form the various pieces of formal writing. So each piece is color coded. There's a focus statement. There is an opening paragraph. There are concluding paragraphs. Each piece of the painted essay has a different form and a different purpose, and students learn about those as they are learning how to become skilled writers. So we have talked about the key components of skilled writing. Today, we talked about the writing structures that appear across the EL education curriculum. And then in our next section, we're going to be talking about how we can better prepare ourselves to engage our students to become high quality skilled writers. Thank you so much for joining me for this section of Right Connections. Again, my name is Jackie Morrissey with the Office of Curriculum and Instruction. If you have any questions, comments, thoughts, or concerns, please feel free to email our office at ela@philasd.org.